Hi everyone, welcome to Build with Shreya. Today we are at the GIIC, which is happening at the XECA, which is an amazing venue near Brandenburg Gates. And we have a really good line of guests today who we're talking to in depth around innovation that's going to happen with the Indo-German partnership coming along in more of a digital sense. So, Ankit, it's so good to have you on the podcast.
It's a
And
pleasure.
if we look at breakthroughs, they always start with a gap that the world is not solving fast enough. And for India, drones actually went from being just a prototype to national scale implementations in record time with builders like you. So, if you can run us through your journey and what made you get into it, first of all, and reach where it is now, especially with our ideaForge.
ideaForge started as a company a little bit later, but drones as a domain started for us in 2004 when we built our first prototype of a four-rotor drone, or as it is popularly called, a quadcopter drone. So that's how we got into the domain, and for a few years we were developing the nuts and bolts of the technology. In 2007, we made our first autopilot, which is 2 years before the open source ecosystem created an autopilot. And we essentially, after 26/11 in 2008, the attacks on Mumbai, decided that we need to take all of this development and create a product out of it that can help our forces, that can help our country. And that's how the journey began. And since then, we have been promoting this technology to make sure that it is available to our end users in the form of a capability that can help them solve the problems of doing last mile surveillance, reconnaissance, or intelligence gathering. So that's the domain we have worked extensively on. And now we are moving towards a lot more diversified domains as well.
Now, if we talk about international collaboration, especially as we are at GIIC today, so German India collaboration, how do you think platforms like these can help the domain that you are in to build a more robust, more sturdy, more ecosystem for both the countries included?
So I think it's fascinating, and I was having this chat earlier during the event that if you look at what ideaForge represents, and I'm just giving that as an example, we have a passion for creating high performance, reliable, resilient, and in autonomous drones, right? We want to build for all of these four vectors so that when we go to a customer, they get more work done every flight, they get more number of flights, they can operate anywhere, and they can operate in adverse conditions like the conditions that are prevalent today, particularly in battlefields in the world. And of course, you need autonomy so that it does not create that much of a training burden for the customer to adopt the technology for their use. And if you look at what Germany is known for, Germany is known for high performance technology, it is known for reliable technology. All of it is very complementary to what we are already working on or are gunning for, in so far as what we are doing at ideaForge. And therefore, I see that kind of synergy wherever we encounter a piece of technology that has the backing from this side of the world, or it is something which, if we are presented with an opportunity, can be leveraged as a program or a project, we would be very, excited about taking it up because it has that promise built in to the engineering approach itself.
So, in drone technology, policies play a very major role in whether innovation really flies or falls, right? And with the new drone policy that has come in, do you think it has accelerated the way startups can now, develop and grow in the ecosystem, or there's still some barriers that are there that need to be looked at from a policy standpoint?
From a policy standpoint, see, the rules that were there that came in 2021, they have been actually very helpful in creating a ecosystem. But as is usual, like if the policy is open, the implementation is a little bit less, it's lagging behind, right? So I think a little bit more has to be done to accelerate the implementation to make sure that the processes are meeting the desired intent of the policy and not following a path which is holding them back for no explicable reason in that one sense. So there are those nuances of implementation that need to be perfected. But yes, I think overall the regulations have been good. Of course, there is a new draft drone bill that has come out. We have to see what happens to that policy if it comes out ever.
So, when we talk about innovation and cross border innovation, how do you think German and Indian firms can accelerate innovation when it comes to dual technology, AI, or specifically to manufacturing?
Germany has been associated with good hardware. And if you look at India, we've been associated with software, right? So, in a way, there is that potential collaboration that can happen where the two countries can come together and innovate aggressively. But on the other side, we are building good hardware capabilities given the time, energy, and legacy we have spent building it. And we are approaching it with a slightly different DNA. So that is again something which is very useful and effective. In the end, collaboration can happen between the two countries and or entities between the two countries where you are taking the context of a specific domain and you're applying intelligence to it. So it could be both ways, right? Their platforms can gain from the use cases that we are developing in India, and they could be co-created, or Indian systems, Indian technology can be co-opted to solve some of the problems here. And that's the bilateral exchange that I expect to happen more effectively.
You mentioned that you would be very interested in doing a joint project, and if such project was possible, what would be your first focus? Would it be scalability, autonomy, or safety?
I think it would be autonomy.
Autonomy.
Yeah.
So today, drones are not just eyes in the sky. They are intelligent collaborators that are working on AI, sensing, and advanced technologies. So, what is the most game changing drone technology as per you? AI, swarming, endurance, or something else entirely?
See, I think every application has a unique requirement, right? So I would not say that what is the most progressive, because each application may not require other features. So if you look at defense today, resilience is a very important vector where you have to resist operate, because you have to operate in a GPS communication denied environment. So how do you do that, right? So there autonomy comes into picture. Having unique capabilities that can position you independent of GPS come into picture. So that is critical for that domain. But for example, for geospatial mapping, that may be something else, because for geospatial mapping, the output of geospatial mapping would require to be automated.
So, drones started as defense tools, but today they're even saving lives. They're monitoring geospatial areas, right? So, what is one of the most interesting applications that even you didn't fathom while you were working on it, and that really impacted in a big way society and the environment around you?
So we've had a vision that drones should be deployed in a persistent way. You cannot deploy them sporadically or incident based. They should be deployed in a persistent, consistent way. And we started doing a few detailed sort of proof of concepts, paid assignments for that particular capability development. And to our surprise, behavior changes. People's behavior changes because they are under sort of observation or
Yeah.
whatever. So places where theft was happening, now theft doesn't happen. Or if they were attempting to do theft and they know that they will not be caught, but we are able to help them run away because they don't want to be actually caught. Like they want to just make sure that nobody
Yeah.
actually comes and catches them. So it's a very interesting mix of you can say applications that we have seen on ground, and they've surprisingly altered behaviors on ground, which is great because it cleans up the city, it reduces issues with respect to traffic, etc.
Indian drone startups have proven that they can innovate at scale. Now, what will it take for them to dominate globally?
I think to dominate globally, Indian companies will have to learn that every location, every domain has a little bit of that
Nuance.
specialization, nuance that you have to build for. We are experiencing that in the US, for example. On the other hand, I think eventually scale will happen for the production side. The scale will happen in components that is not as restricted or as big of a limitation. And secondly, will be in specialized use cases because they are not easily available or on offer with anybody else, be it high altitude, low temperature, and some of those use cases like that.
What is the toughest barrier for Indian UAVs to go worldwide? And what would be your playbook for breaking those barriers?
I think toughest barrier is actually the barrier of people wanting to get locally sourced stuff now. Everyone wants made in X, right?
Yes.
So to overcome that barrier, I think we'll have to figure out a way of producing elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like we expect the world to produce in India, we will have to go and produce elsewhere.
And
That's why we've recently signed up a JV in US
okay.
to do exactly that.
If you could give one piece of advice to entrepreneurs who are building ventures in deep tech, what would it be?
First is that deep tech is about deep tech. So therefore, you can't scrunch away and not do deep tech. You can't simply do system integration and hope to, be called a deep tech entrepreneur, right? So the thing is that deep tech is about building net new knowledge, bringing net new knowledge. It's not about like just putting together existing knowledge. So I think people who are not sort of wanting to build it with the kind of depth it requires will find it hard to sustain advantages in the market, because you're just bringing everything that others have done together. Like it's good, it's important, but it's not long term sustainable in that one sense. We should not be doing that. And second is that the ambition to be the world's best is important. A lot of times, what I see is that people live in their own heads and they believe that a problem is a very important problem, whereas they haven't like spoken to enough people to know that actually that was not the biggest problem on the planet. So then you're burning cycles, discovering or reinventing the wheel, right? So that's a difference. And of course, last but not the least, don't do what everyone else is doing, right? I mean, you have to do something which is differentiated, something which carves a niche for yourself or is so out there that you can gravitate the entire market towards you. Like, you can't be doing exactly the same thing that everyone else is doing and hope to create a deep tech business. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, and I think also there should be this personal value that one should be able to bring to that business. I mean, that's for every entrepreneur. That
Absolutely.
why am I doing this specific thing? Okay,
Exactly.
like
Why am I the best person to
why am
stick
yes to see it through.
to see it through? Exactly. Not too many people do it, actually, unfortunately. That's the problem.
So when we talk about drone technology, and especially in defense, I think the cost per unit becomes superbly important, right? Because I mean, even though we might be able to retaliate in a good fashion whenever there is a swarm attack, for example, right? But if the cost is too high to do that, then it doesn't really make financial sense. So how do you think innovation can happen in India, and with the collaboration with Germany, to see more affordable drones for defense tech?
See, affordability will come from volumes. I believe that the job of an entrepreneur in defense is to build the best tech they can. But of course, to begin with, it should be ab initio, like that's the innovation, that it should intrinsically be inexpensive to build. It should not be that we are selling it cheap. So there's a difference, right? It should intrinsically be a tech that you can make profits on and still offer it less expensively to the customer. On the other hand, you have, just somebody throwing money by buying business, like because you're putting such low margin that, or sometimes negative margin also buying the deal. So that should not happen.
So when we talk about costing, I think the inputs become important. The cost of the inputs becomes superbly
So
important.
vertical integration is a way to reduce that. The more vertically integrated you are, less you're buying technology from others, you're buying just components from others and you're building the technology yourself. So that becomes an important vector.
So when I talk about drones specifically and the collaboration with Germany and India, I feel that the innovation can actually just happen on the technology part, where we can make the technology part so efficient that it helps the entire supply chain or value chain of the drone manufacturing. Correct me if I'm wrong, or if you would like to add some comments to this.
Unfortunately, we are never going to produce as many systems in defense as consumer tech does, right? So beyond a point, you can't, you can only get to a limit, is what I'm, if at all I can say. Like, you're not building millions. You're just building a few thousands, if at all, in the highest volume scenario.
Right.
But it's not going to change dramatically that it's going to become like something like a mobile phone industry. It's tough for it.
And
You
how
can
do you?
adopt stuff being built in the mobile phone industry and use it on drones, but the vice versa is kind of hard because volumes are not there.
All right. So thank you for joining us today, Ankit. It was amazing to have you here.
Thank you so much.